Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're talking about Brussels sprouts, and I have some tips and ideas for you for when you're using Brussels sprouts, and hopefully this will help you out in the kitchen. When you're cooking Brussels sprouts, try to avoid overcooking them for sure, and it helps to cook them in as little water as possible. Prolonged cooking, especially in a lot of water, is going to help to release those sulfur compounds, and that's going to make them taste very strong and undesirable to a lot of people. So remember the adage to cook them in as little water as possible for as little time as possible. When you're shopping for Brussels sprouts, remember that the smaller ones will be more tender and a little sweeter than the larger ones, okay? If you really want the larger ones, that's fine, but they're going to be on the tougher side. They're going to be stronger flavored. If you're counting, 1 pound of Brussels sprouts has roughly 24 to 28 medium sprouts in it. If you're measuring, 1 pound of Brussels sprouts has about 3 cups. Now, if you're cooking a recipe and it involves Brussels sprouts and you find that, oh no, you don't have enough to fulfill the recipe, if you have some broccoli on hand, substitute in some broccoli for those missing Brussels sprouts, or even some chopped green cabbage. They can be used interchangeably. Cooking times may vary a little bit, so you want to kind of chop your broccoli pieces or your cabbage roughly about the same size as the Brussels sprouts if you can possibly help that, and just monitor that a little bit. But anyway, the broccoli and the cabbage can be used interchangeably with Brussels sprouts. Try sauteed Brussels sprouts with a little garlic and a sprinkle of chili pepper flakes. When they're finished, drizzle them with a little bit of lemon juice and a sprinkling of some chopped pistachios. When you're steaming Brussels sprouts, cook them only for 5, no more than 8 minutes, just until they're barely fork tender. And you want to avoid overcooking them. You don't want them to be mushy, and if you do overcook them, they're going to have a stronger sulfury flavor. So just barely cook them until they're just barely fork tender, and you'll be happier with them that way. When you're preparing Brussels sprouts, especially if you're going to cook them, try to cut them in about the same size pieces. If they're small, they probably only need to be cut in half. If they're larger ones, and you have some smaller ones in there as well, you'll probably want to quarter the larger ones so that your pieces are roughly the same size. They'll cook more uniformly that way. If possible, try to avoid boiling your Brussels sprouts, especially if you're not blanching them for the freezer, but you're boiling them to cook to eat. It's really easy to overcook them, making them mushy, stronger, sulfury flavored, and almost a little bitter at times. And you'll also lose some of the water-soluble nutrients along the way as well. So try to avoid boiling them if you can, but if you do, watch them very closely so you don't overcook them. Now, if you're monitoring your cholesterol, know that the fiber in Brussels sprouts is known to bind with bile in the digestive tract. When that happens, it takes fiber out of this body with the feces, which is a good thing, because then it forces the liver to make more bile from existing cholesterol that's in the body. And this can help to keep your cholesterol levels down. Researchers have found that the fiber in steamed Brussels sprouts actually binds with bile better than the fiber that is in raw Brussels sprouts. So again, if you're monitoring your cholesterol and you want to use Brussels sprouts as one way to help keep it in check, steam them before you eat them to get the most cholesterol removing value out of them. For a really easy side dish or salad, combine quartered steamed Brussels sprouts with sliced red onions, walnuts, and a mild cheese like feta, and then toss it with a little olive oil and balsamic vinegar, and you're good to go. Try steamed Brussels sprouts topped with tahini dressing made with tahini, lemon, and garlic. Really easy. Try braising some Brussels sprouts in a little bit of vegetable broth along with some chopped garlic and a sprinkling of herbs of choice. It could be basil, thyme, or rosemary, something like that. Braise them only until they're just barely fork tender, Then remove them from the heat and drizzle them with just a little bit of fresh lemon juice and enjoy. Here's another way to enjoy some Brussels sprouts. Stir steam them in a vegetable stock or water if you want. We're only talking about 2 to 3 tablespoons of water or broth at a time. And throw in a little bit of chopped onion as well. Cook them until they're just barely fork tender. Remove them from the heat and then stir in just a little bit of Dijon style mustard and a little bit of maple syrup. Then sprinkle them with some sesame seeds and serve. Sounds good to me. I do hope this helps you out. This is Judi at Judi in the Kitchen. Bye for now.